Hello, welcome to another special Sudoku solve video. Today I'm gonna solve another Yttrio puzzle, just because of its rule set basically. It's a rule set that I very much typically enjoy, so I think this will be fun as well. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Draw a one cell wide loop over orthogonally connected cells. The loop may not touch itself, not even diagonally. The loop acts as a German whisper line. Adjacent digits on the loop must have a difference of at least 5. The loop must enter every cell of every cage. Okay, so let's start by marking that because I think that's easy progress. This is going to be the loop. And then the sum of all digits in any given cage is the same for every cage. That sum must be determined by the solver. Digits may repeat in a cage if allowed by other rules. Okay, so what's... Right. Let's first start with the easy things, right? Can that be on the loop? No, it can't, because it would have to make a U shape and touch itself, so it cannot. So now this cell, how does this go on the loop? Because, right, it enters through here, and it must exit somehow, so it must exit there, connecting this part. Now that cannot be on the loop, that cannot be on the loop, and that cannot be on the loop. That's all fine. Now that cannot be, and that cannot be. Right, okay, so what I think we're going to deal with in this is, it's an aspect of German whispered loops. I don't know how to explain it very well. Right. If you look at this pattern, because the loop, right, goes from high to low to high, or the other way around, it is always, in a checkerboard pattern, the same polarity. So high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low, high. So the purples in this case would always be high, or always be low. So those are the same. That being said, what I noticed is that these two are the same, and then we follow the checkerboard pattern as this one, and then those two are the same. And I think that poses a bit of a problem. Right, for the same reason as that this cannot be on the loop, this cannot be. But I think the point here is these are consecutive loop cells, right? So now let's think about it. We always have two lows, which if we maximize those, we can do 3 and 4 and a 9, right? If we maximize this, which is 7, which is 16. Right. I think minimizing would be a bigger problem because these two, right? These two will have the same sum as this cage. So what's the maximum we can make this? It is 13. It is 9 and 4. So if we have two high digits, yeah, if we have two high digits, what's that going to mean? The minimum of those high digits is already 6 and 7. Oh, digits may repeat. Ah, that makes sense. So there is only one way to make that work. It's 6, 6, 1. And the two low ones is easier. Right. So one of those is going to be 6, 6, and 1. So either that's a 1 and that's a 1. Right, okay. So this straight cage cannot be 6, 6, 1. This must be two low ones with a high one in the middle. So high, high. Purple is high. So those two are both 6 and that's a 1. That's something that we know. Let's remove that coloring because we know at this point. So we know that this is low, this is low, this is low, and this is low. I don't know how to mark that properly. And we know that this is a 9 and a 4, right? Same for this, I guess. This also has to be low, low. Yeah, this also has to be low, low with a high in the middle. So this is 7, 8, or 9. And this is, what if that's 1, 2? Yeah, no, there is options here. Right. So what now? So there must be something. Right. No, there's different ways to connect this to the loop, I presume. Yeah. Oh, we can know. We know that this is low because of the checkerboard pattern thing. So, right. This can either move this way or it can move this way. If it moves this way, this creates 2 9. So that's a 9 and it's on the loop. So that's not on the loop. So that is on the loop. So this cannot move this way because that creates a dead end. So that must be on the loop and this cannot be. And then those cannot be. Okay. Now let's see. That's a high digit. That's a high digit. So let's mark those 7, 8, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And let's see what all this means. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's not a 4, obviously. That's not a 1. That's not a 6. Can that be a 4? No, it cannot. Can that be a 6? No, because that would create double 1. Now, if that's a 9, we need 4 more, but that's 3 and 1, that's fine. Right, there's more to that, but I'm not sure how to explain how to think of that at this point. So I'm going to look at something else. That's not a 9. So one of those is a 9, I guess. 6. So one of those is 6. Well, one of those is a 6. So what then? This is also 7, 8, or 9. This is also 7, 8, or 9 because there cannot be a 6 here because that would be double 1. That cannot be a 4. So the biggest this can be is 2, 3. Right. If that's 7, how are we going to create 6 more? We can't. So that's not 7. If that's 8, we need 5 more. If that's 9, we need 4 more. Both seem possible. But they would always contain a 3. I'm not sure how interesting that is. Maybe that's more relevant for this cage, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. That cannot be a 4. So is it going to be something like where do 5s go? I don't think it is. Oh, well, I said, right, that this cage can connect in multiple ways, but how will it ever connect to this end, right? If this cage, this loop goes this way, we run into a problem because it touches this. Right, okay, so maybe a better thing is, could it ever enter into this cell? No, because it has nowhere to go. So that's gray, so that is green. So this is also 2 or 3. No, 2 or 3. You cannot enter into this cell because we create the same problem of a division. That is the case. So this is 7, 8, or 9. Right, so if this would enter into this cell, we would have a problem because the next smallest digit is a 4. But at this point I'm having trouble seeing. Well, okay, so it must exit this. Okay, so this will enter through here somehow. Well, we kind of know how it does. It's either does this or it does this. But, right, it goes in here. Because it cannot connect to this, because then you can never create a full loop. Right, it connects to this. How it does that, we're not sure. But it comes out here. If it takes this cell, that must be a 4, because it's the only small digit that is left, and that's not possible, so it must go up. How does it ever leave this box? It does it through here. So this must be the case. And then that is gray, and that is a high digit, being 7, 8, or 9. These are both low, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not a 4. That is a, must be a 1, because 1, Yeah, because 6 can only go next to 1, so that's not a 1. It's not a 1. Not difficult. It's not as easy as I thought it'd be. Well, okay, so what happens if we cross above here, right? When we create 4 small digit, then that must be a 9, it must be 7, 8, and what's that small digit going to be? It's either 2 or 3, but that seems fine to me. Right, okay, so now that is a small digit. It doesn't go through here. So that's grayed out, and that is green. And that's a high digit, being 7, 8, or 9, because the next digit will, if it's a 6, then the next 2 digits will have to be 1, and that's a problem. But at this point, right, there's multiple ways. There must be more to this. This 4 says that one of those is a 4. What does that mean? One of those being a 4. Is that relevant in any way? I don't think it is. Is there a same type of trick that I can do? If that's a small digit, we're fine. If those, then that's a large digit, which is in a 6, so it's a 7, 8, 9. But that does seem fine to me at this point. That's a high digit. I think we're also fine. Yeah, probably. I'm not certain. At this point, I'm a little stuck. We do have a lot of information, though. 6, we need another 1 next to this. Wow. Next to the 6, we need another 1, so it must be there. That is quite clear. Now that's 2, 3, so that's... Well... No, that isn't true. How with 8, how do you make 13? It is 2, 3. With 9, how do you make 13? You can't. Oh, you can with double 2. Okay, that's something to be aware of. I hope I didn't mess up earlier with the 7. How do you make 7? You need 6. No, you need double 3. That doesn't work. But double 2 does seem fine. Interesting. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that. Okay. So one of those is a 1, I guess. 1, 1, one of those is a 1. Well, yeah. 4s, one of those being a 4. Why I do mark that, right? Because it does halt. Well, those can, I guess, not be loop anymore. But that still can. That's one of those being a 5. Right, I need to make sort of a notice of where 5 can be and where it cannot be. And how these cages will function, right? If that's a 7, how do we make the cage work, right? Because that will be a 1-2 pair, so it cannot be. So that's not a 7. Same for this, I guess. That cannot be a 7. Because if it is, how do you make this work? You can't. If it's 8, you need 5 more. Then it cannot be 1-4. So it must be 2-3, and that breaks that cell. So it's not 8, it's 9. But 9 could be 1-3 or 2-2. 1-3 or 2-2. It could be 2-2. Never mind. It is 1-3. That's a 2. But that doesn't make that not a 2. So that's now not that. So that's not a 7. That's not a 7. Creating an 8-9 pair. Interesting. I hate looking at this. That's not this. Right, that still could be 7. So one of those being a 9. Well, no, that could still be a 9. The puzzle isn't as easy as I thought it'd be. I will be completely honest. That's a 2 or a 3. I saw a 2-star puzzle by Yttrio, and normally, you know, you're kind of, oh, well, I've only been doing this for 15 minutes. Well, okay, sure. 8 needs 5 more, so that's a 2-3 pair. We know that. This cannot be on the line, I guess, so that's a gray mark. The next digit here is going to be high. If it's 3, that's an 8, but that's okay, I assume. If that's a 3, that's an 8, that's a 9, that's a 2. That does kind of trickle a lot, but still not with anything. Oh, that cannot be a 4. Wow. 3, 2. Does that do anything? I thought that'd do a lot more. Now, if that's a high digit, it can be 7 or 8, but that seems fine. If those are high, we can have 9, 7, 8, nah, 3. Well, no, we can't, because 9, 7, 8 with a 3, that's impossible, so that must be the case. So you're not a 4, you are a 4, and you're a 9. Those are all gray. What is this then? It must be a high digit, must be 7 or 8. And then that's now an 8. So the next digit is 1, 2, or 3. But where? You don't know. Right, one of those being a 3. So that's not a 3. Now that doesn't do anything, I don't think. Maybe it doesn't, I'm just not seeing it, but... I feel like there is something sort of obvious at every step, but I'm just missing the key points. That's how it feels like thus far in this puzzle. I have 1, 2, 3. With a 4 not there, so one of those being a 4. Now, is that interesting? I don't think so. Eight, one of those being an 8. But that's kind of, you know, why would it even matter? Well, it probably does, but I'm just not seeing why. But that's okay. Either this is the next high digit, which would then have to be a 7 with a 1. Right, if this is the next low digit, it will always have to be a 1. If this is the next low digit, it could be 1, 2, or 3. Then that has to be a high digit, but it can be. Then it would have to be 7 or 9. I don't like that vision, I guess. That could be a 7 as the next high digit. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. 2, 2 with a 9 works, or 3 with an 8. Is any of those a problem? 2, 2. Make that a 3. 2. No, I don't see it. I'm not seeing it. There must be something then, probably Sudoku related. 5 up here. Oh, excuse me. One of those being a 5. That doesn't do anything. 7 and 8. Because of those. Well, that has a limited set of options, I guess. 6 is in one of those. One is in one of those. But further, nothing else. There is nothing else to that. Okay. Quite a huge, useless tangent then. I just said, oh no, I've only been doing this for 15 minutes and now it's already 5 minutes later. Okay. Oh wow. Okay. 7, 1, 3. That. It is what it is, I guess. Now, if that's the next lowest digits, we would said that would have to be a 1. So that's it. Then that's it, and then we know that this connects to this. Now, at this point, we're at uncertainty again. This is a high digit, being one of those. Right. Also, now that I have a little bit of time, I'm going to make some time to say some things I have in mind about this channel. I have been very busy with school lately, and that has priority for me. So it is a bit slower than I expected, and not everything I wanted to do I'm getting done. Not all the ideas I have I can realize. So in some cases, that inhibits what I can make and upload or do or edit. So for now, what I'm putting down is going to be what it is. And I don't mind that at all. I think as a hobby channel, that still should be the case. So I'm just going to continue in that idea. And it won't ever be anything else than that. I have no I don't have those ambitions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. But I do enjoy. Oh well, that's interesting. I do enjoy this a lot, so I will keep doing it. And yeah, that's kind of what I had to say. But then again, school's cool. While it has been getting busier, it also has been getting a lot more fun. Maybe those things go hand in hand, I guess. I got into my specialization, so I'm learning a lot more in-depth stuff, and I have been really enjoying that. And it has challenged me, which is quite nice. And I hope that it keeps doing so, I guess. But yeah, no, that's it. Right, if that's 7, and that's 1, and that can be 6, and that can be 1, that's fine. Okay, I'm unsure. Right, I filled in this 6, so that's something. Right, 4 is either here or here, but I don't think I have anything interesting with that. Yeah, you need 4, 5, and then 7, 8, or 9. Digits may repeat in a cage is such a... It messes me up so much, more than I would expect. If that is a 7, that has to be a 2. If that's a 9, it can be anything. I don't see anything else with that. Right, so the next digit is an 8. So one of those is an 8. That's something that we do know. And then the next digit is low again. But it could be that one. And that would be fine. If it's that one, what can it be? Right, it is 1, 2, or it's 1 or 2. So then that would have to be a 3. And then that's an 8 as well. So then that is okay. So if this is on the snake, then those two are. But it doesn't have to be. It can also be there, and then we'd be fine. I'm unsure, right? Because that can just be 9. Why can you not be 9? I want to know what this is basically my point. If I know what this is, I think the whole puzzle folds open. That can just be a 7. And we'd be fine. That can be a 7 with a 1 and a 2 and a 9. Why is that impossible? Please give me a good reason. If this is a 1, 2 pair, that is a 3, that's a 4. And that is also 5, 7, or 8. No, 5 or 8, and then that's a 7. That all seems to work to me. If that's a 7, that's a 2. What do these digits do for me? Right. Is there any cell that I know cannot be on the loop? It's this one, I guess. We celebrate small victories. If this is the case, we can have 6, 1, and then something. But that doesn't have to be, right? The loop could not even... Yeah. In a weird way, this like, just looking at it, this does seem somewhat possible, which is frustrating. There is no other cage to help me. So it must come from the information that is right here, right now. Well, that's always the case. Okay. Oh, well, this 9 pencil mark is even wrong. It's one of those 3. Because that can be a 9. When do we have a problem? If that is 8, that's 7, right? And what's... And this is a low digit. But that does seem okay. If that's 8, that's 9, 7. Well, and anyhow... No, that's not true. That's not true what I was going to say. Is there any row? Right, this would be a low digit, and it's not 2, 3, or 4. So if this is on the snake, it is a 1. That's something I can deduce. But I don't think it's interesting. If it is on the snake, for example, if this is on a snake, it's a 7 or an 8. It's a 6 or a 7. Well, it isn't a 6. It must be a 7. Then that must be a 2. If this is on a snake, then that must be a 2. And the next digit must either be 2 or 1. But both seem possible. Then that must be a 7 or an 8 again. It could even be... Couldn't be a 7, but that could be a 3. And then we'd be fine. Okay, but 3... No, wait. If that's on the snake, right? It is a 3 or 4. It cannot be, right? Because of that. Then this cannot be anything. So that is not on the snake. Okay, we'll just whittle it down. If this is on a snake, it is high. It is 6 or 7. Could it be a 6? 6 would need double 1. 6 would need double 1. But that seems possible to me. I cannot believe it. Okay. And 7 is then also possible. Where am I missing something? It must be something obvious. 2, 2, one of those being a 2. Right, these 2 and these 6s align. But then nothing else aligns. Am I just missing something? Something very simple. If that is 8, then that must be 2 and 1. If that is 7, then that must be 2 and 1. Okay, that's it. If this is 8, right, then that is 9, and that must be a 2, so that must be a 1. Why is this not possible? Oh, well, no, okay, that's the case. Then this is a 1-2 pair. Okay, all right, that's fine, right, that's fine. If this is a 7, then if that's a 2, that's a 3, that breaks, so that must be a 1, and that must be a 2, which is the same thing. So this is always a 2 and a 1, so that's always a 9. Okay. So that's a 3, that must be an 8. We have some stuff. This is, what is this, 4, 5, 7? With that now being a 7, that now being a 4. Sure. So one of those is a 7, because it cannot be there, so that must be a 9. That took me 10 minutes. Gee, okay. I did not expect that to take 10 minutes. Right. What are we on to now? What is now a significant thing? I've made all these pencil marks, but I find it kind of interrupting. Right, we got this 8. Let's look at it. So one of those being an 8. We still don't know what that is, funnily enough. No, we don't. Okay. 9s, maybe? No, I don't think it does anything. One of those being a 9 is whatever. Yeah, one of those is a 9 now. Okay, sure. Well, and an 8. Three doesn't do anything. One of those being a 2. It doesn't do much. 2, 2, one of those being a 2. Sure, right. Okay. So what's the point then of what I just discovered? That this next digit, if this is on the line, it is 1 or 2. It is 1. If this is on the line, it is high. Right? It is one of those two, because it has to cross this border somehow. And it's either through this cell or through this cell, or possibly both. If this is on the line, it is 6 or 7. But both seem possible to me, with a 2 and a 1. Or a 1 and a 1, even. If this is a 3, then that must be a 3. If this is a 3, then we don't know. And one of those is a 3. Okay, no, that is nothing. It must be something to do with the next highest digit. If this is the next digit, it must be a 7. 7, 1, and then something else. 7, 1, 6, 1. Yeah, sure, right, and then a 2, and then an 8. That's all fine. I'm uncertain again. I hope this time it takes a bit less long. 7s, 9s. I pencil mark the 9s. So is it 5s then? At this point, if I'm looking at it again. No 3s. I'm thinking like, right, what can I pencil mark that does make sense? 4 means there is a 4 here, so that means that one of those is a 4. This cannot be a 4, so one of those is a 4, one of those is a 4, so that must be a 4. But sure, right? Sure. What does that mean for the rest of the box? Because we have a 5, 7, 8, so what is this? 1, 2, so we're missing 6 and 3, or 3 and 6. That 3 pair looks at that, so that's a 6, that's a 3. So what am I missing here? It's 5 or 8 again. Oh, and now this 1-2 pair makes that not possible to be a small digit. Because then it would have to be a 4, and that doesn't work. So that's not on the line, so that is. And it is an 8. And we know that that is on the line, which now is a 1 or a 2. So that must be a 5, so that must be an 8. That's a 7, a 5, and a 7, and an 8. Right, that is it. That is most of what I think is going to do the lifting. At least. I hope. Again. Then that is either a 6 or a 7. It cannot go down at this point, so this is closed off. If it goes up, it takes those 3, and we need 2 high digits, and we don't have those anymore. So it doesn't go up here, so it doesn't go up here in any way. So now it's a case of connecting the two together with 8 not being able to go here. So that's an 8. So if this were to be the next digit, it would have to be a 9. In fact, 9 isn't one of those, so that must be a 9. And if that's the next highest digit, what can it be? Not 7, 8, or 9, and not a 6. So it cannot be. So that must be. So this is the case. Then this must be... Oh, that cannot be a 9 anymore because of the checkerboard pattern. So that must be a 9. And the next digit is not a 1 or a 3, so it's a 2. Then this is a 7. And that's a 1. That's it. That is the whole loop. Now it's just presumably just Sudoku. Right, with a 7, a 4, and a 9. And I'm fully going to trust my pencil marks, which have always been correct, of course. No, I try to keep them as correct as possible, but things slip by. So I'm joking a bit. 5s, since those are often relevant in whisper puzzles. 4s. 4. Oh, 4. 4. Where am I missing my 4s? It is this 4, 2. And with that same idea, let's continue. With that being a 2 and a 3. Well, keep going with the 2s, I guess. as long as we can. 2. Then we go for 3 with a 3. I'm doing this in a sort of simple way, but I don't think it's a problem at this point. 3, 6, 3. That's all the 3s. Let's just go by order of digit, I guess. Never mind, let's not go by order of digit, I guess. What now? 9s? I pick one that I already done. So 7, 7, 5, 7, 7. What am I missing here? Likely a 5. A 5 it is. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Then we're missing... that must be 8 and 6. And that must be 6, 6, 1, and a 1. And that's the puzzle. Tougher than I expected. It also took a lot longer than I expected, but very enjoyable. And yeah, with that all being said, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a nice day, and I hope you enjoyed the puzzle too. Bye.